First of all, I have to ask you about the
What's probably going to happen is that everything's going to go into lockdown, and then the way I will get through it is I'll become a full-time athlete.
You'll be like Usain Bolt or Mo Farah, watch out.
I got mixed up with drugs and eventually went to prison. I went for ABH, so yeah, it was a brawl in town. It kind of culminated to that stage, so you kind of felt like that was my identity, that was where I was. I'd always been bad.
What made you took running back up?
It was kind of, at that time, it was just a like-for-like replacement, I think. It was a very positive thing, obviously. If you're going to have an addiction, it's good to have a healthy one.
The drink. I just got thinking of the drink.
You can still exercise on your own. You could go on a FaceTime run, couldn't you? And I'd put it on a selfie stick. I'd like to put the selfie stick behind me.
So you've got to put behind your feet.
I'd like to be talking to Chris Lamb so that I can... Wherever we go, he'd always be behind me.
Hi, my name is Michelle Lewis. 10 years ago, you'd have been lucky to see me run to the end of the road. These days, running is second nature to me. From marathons to park runs to putting my own running group through their paces. You'll often see me in suitably loud attire, getting ready to pound the pavements. And here's a secret, if I can do it, you can too. There's so many wonderful and inspiring stories in the world of running. And not just running, some of my favourite tales involve those who take to their wheelchairs, bikes or simply their own trusty feet in an attempt to get fitter, faster or just have some fun. In this podcast, I'm going to be in conversation with some of the most inspiring and fascinating of these people. Remember, it's your time, your speed, your way. The only person you need to keep up with is yourself. Welcome to the second week of my Running Tales podcast. This time I've been speaking to Peter Currington. He's a mental health ambassador with English Athletics and has his own amazing story. Peter overcame drink, drugs and a spell in prison, and these days gets his endorphins from running instead. Peter is honest about how he still has to work on his mental health. It's an inspirational story, and we still had time to talk about his incredible sub-3-hour marathon and, of course, in these strange times, about coping with the coronavirus. Pete, we'll come to your story in a minute, but first of all, I have to ask you about the coronavirus and the incredible difference it's having on all things running related.
Obviously, the coronavirus is worrying in itself, isn't it? But yeah, in terms of running and people's mental health, mental well-being, and that's worrying.
Have you noticed a difference, like I have, like sitting here in my dining room, obviously lots of runners going by, not large groups? Does it just feel weird that it's single runners, or you might see a couple, in twos?
It feels weird in general, doesn't it, when you go out and it's kind of, there's nobody around. And so England Athletics put out yesterday, was it?
Yeah.
That any kind of training and groups are all cancelled. You can't till at least the end of April.
What's the buzz in your group like? Is it parkrun, jog and run, or rugby?
Both. Yeah, I haven't been to parkrun for a while actually, but yeah, that is where I started, and I go there sometimes. Yeah, rugby in Northampton. It's kind of, I don't know, because it was kind of, until recently it was pretty normal, wasn't it? Everything was going on as normal, and the coronavirus was something that was happening in other countries, and then all of a sudden we're not able to do.
I think it's going to be Saturday morning that's going to affect a lot of us, or when it's the first club night of the week, which I think for many it's going to be tomorrow night, Thursday.
I guess as it goes on as well, it's kind of you might be all right for a couple of weeks, and then you start to miss it, wouldn't you? It's
But as well as the exercise, I know from me personally, mentally, being a home worker, it's going to make a huge difference. What about yourself?
I think obviously I'll still run, but I think I kind of recognised that something that I've done recently was train on my own, and realised that I've not been doing too well. I've had issues recently with mental health and stuff, and I think one of the issues was that I wasn't socialising. I wasn't doing this kind of training with the group and volunteering and doing my coaching and stuff that does help your mental health. And
so now that, okay, you've been running on your own, but now you know you have to run on your own, or
I guess we'll get through it. We'll get through it,
but as well. But will that put you off less running?
No.
Or more so, will you like the freedom of the streets?
I actually think what's probably going to happen is that everything's going to go into lockdown, and then the way I will get through it, a lot of people don't think like me, the way I'll get through it is I'll become a full-time athlete.
You'll be like Usain Bolt or Mo Farah, watch out.
I'll train in the mornings, then I'll have a nap in the afternoon, and I'll go out again in the evening.
So are you still a mental health ambassador for English Athletics?
So officially, yes. I've had difficulties myself with certain things recently. I've been back to the psychiatrist, and so I took a step away for a little while. But I've kind of kept that as my title, because I know that sometimes people need somebody to know that there's somebody they can message, and so they do, because they know that and I'm there. Then I get messages in my inbox, and I can help people that way. But I've not been quite as active in that role as I have been.
Well, to be fair, you're taking time out for yourself, so you're listening, and that makes you a good representative, because you're at a bad.
I think a lot of the time that's what people need, isn't it?
Exactly.
Somebody who's actually, relatable, can say, well, actually, I know what you're going through, because I'm going through exactly the same thing.
It's interesting though that you said, even though you're going through a bad time, and you were saying, you are taking drugs as well at the moment, prescription.
Not recreational, no.
But you're still running, and so, a lot of people, when you hear, do go through that down point, that exercise is the last thing on your mind. You're going in yourself, you want to stay in, but even during our just brief chat now, you've said that you've been running on your own, but obviously you're still using the tool of running. Is that you, or is that what your doctors have prescribed to you to carry on exercising?
They couldn't stop me, I don't think. But no, I think no, not really. It's not been prescribed, but it is my coping mechanism. I've been very surprised in the past, and especially recently, that I can be feeling really bad and still manage to get myself out to run. But I think I don't really know why that is.
Do you think the lower you are, the more determined you're going out running?
Yeah, I think
and that's
so.
You, that's not someone...
No.
Because to be honest, if I haven't run for about 3-4 days, which is going to happen next couple of days because I haven't been, I'm injured, I'm the most moodiest person going, and Craig has to kick me out the door to get those endorphins lifted and just to get me out. But
do you mean you become unmotivated, or do you just a bit...
I do. If I have that mental, the mojo's gone, it's very hard for me to get my trainers on. I have to be pushed. You don't need that person, which is strange. We both deal with it in different ways.
I think in some ways it's not always it's probably not what you're expecting to hear, but in some ways I don't think it's always a positive thing. I think sometimes it actually is, because I've got an addictive personality. Like, I have to do it, and if I don't do it, then it's kind of... So yeah, I'm completely the opposite, and sometimes that's because I can't not, because if I don't do it, I don't get the endorphin. I suppose I'm addicted to the endorphins.
Yeah, no, that's a good way.
But it's better than...
I only get that when I finish a race. When I finish a race, I'm like, yeah, let's do it again and book another one. But then during that process before then, it's like low. But it sounds you need it from the very...
I guess I have had a kind of rough-ish patch, but so kind of still sort of 40 to 45 miles a week during a rough patch. Where I'm struggling to be motivated. I think it becomes a habit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So even when you are struggling to motivate yourself, because I'd rather kind of be out, I'd rather be in the pub than
out running.
That's what was happening. Yeah, I'd rather be in the pub than running, but I'd still kind of get up the next day. Are
you a twice a day runner then? When you have times, or you're just are you a morning runner or an evening, or just whenever you can?
tends to be, I mean, it varies. I was trying to sort of kind of squeeze things in on my lunch break and stuff, but now I tend to do it when I finish work. So.
Okay. So at the moment you're not racing, but just to give people an idea, what sort of distance are you? You know, what is your favourite? What do you like doing?
So that's something I'm quite proud of, actually. I'm glad you asked that question, because I did a marathon this year.
Oh, congratulations. Which one?
I did Yorkshire.
Wow, that wasn't an easy one.
It's actually quite flat.
Didn't you do it under 3 hours?
2:51.02, yeah.
Wow, respect.
So I was quite surprised by that. I was thinking that I might just sneak under.
And that was your first ever marathon?
The first one, yeah. But you obviously don't know, do you, what you're going to be like at a marathon when you haven't done one. And you see, and I've always watched the London Marathon, attract people on London Marathon. Even a lot of people that I know are good runners. I see them go out at a pace and they all die a horrible death at the end. And, you know, they start at, I don't know, say 6.5 minute miles, and then they finish at 10:30.
Yeah.
You know, so they really kind of struggle at the end, and I was expecting that to happen.
So how did your training go? You know, because obviously, did you train for the marathon, or did you just go out there and do it? So how was your mental health during the training? Because you was consistent, was your mental health balanced?
It's better. Yeah.
Then you did the marathon. Did you go down? And the reason I ask that is because, personally, after I've done a marathon, a couple of days after, I go on a massive come down, and I've spoke to other runners that are me.
I agree, and I've done that for a couple of races. Last couple of races I've done. I think you kind of have a massive high, don't you?
Yeah.
You do, you know. Last year I ran a PB at the half marathon, and I was had a real high after that, and then a bit of a low the week after, and then the marathon I did the same, yeah. So obviously you're knackered as well, and you see you're walking, you're trying to walk around and you're miserable, and
But your current state, where you're saying you've been going through a bad time, do you think the marathon contributed that? Because you was on such a high.
I think it did. I think it did, yeah. And I think
we don't want to put people off running here. I don't think a lot of people do understand that. You know, that high doesn't last forever.
No.
You do come down, and also your body needs to recover.
Actually, this is something that I think it did coincide. All my kind of recent troubles did coincide with the end of the marathon.
Yeah.
I think doing a marathon, that was my focus, and I was very focused. I did all the training. I did, and I came out with a decent time, and it's something that I've kind of been looking into recently and trying to work out why, because it's kind of a pattern throughout my life. You have this goal, you have this focus, and then you feel okay because you're working towards this goal.
Yes.
You reach the goal, what next? And it's kind of it's almost as if your happiness relies on being able to achieve something.
Agree with that.
And I think and I think you have to kind of learn to be content without having to push to achieve something all the time, and I think that's a difficult thing when you've probably, I've done that for most of my life, and it's kind of.
But I've noticed also you, especially at parkrun, that you lead bike, and when you're emailing us at the parkrun, you say, "Oh, I'm pacing someone. Put me as lead bike today." Is that a new role that you've come into, coaching, or?
I tend to get asked because people know that I quite enjoy doing it. So if people want to go for a fast time and I say, "Can you jump on the bike?" then yeah.
Wouldn't that be a buzz to you as well?
Yeah, that's definitely.
They asked you, and then.
I'd really enjoy pacing people, whether it's on a bike, whether it's running. I've been running with my brother most weeks for the last probably 10 parkruns I've done. Yeah.
Was he a runner before?
No. So he's probably been running, getting on for a year now. Yeah, it's been quite. So
is that you that's inspired him?
I hope so. I hope
it's not just you.
Yeah, it's not just me. It's my mum. It's my aunties, uncles. I was always the runner in the family. And it was kind of seen as and I think this is the parkrun movement as well. This is the impact that it's had, because I was always the athlete. And if you're going to be a runner, you're going to be an athlete. Whereas now you can be a runner, whether you're an athlete or not, whether you're a jogger, a walker, you can go to parkrun and you can be, and it's great to see
Because like we said, we've mentioned your brother, we mentioned your mum. Can you explain to people about Jamal?
So Jamal's my little brother. He's got a few issues with, he's got cerebral palsy, blind, so he doesn't walk or talk
But he loves going around the park.
He loves parkrun, yeah. But he really enjoys it. I think actually he enjoys the crowds, he enjoys the people running past him. So it's.
But don't you get a sense of wow that my family are now doing this with me? This was like my solo hobby.
It's the wider family now as well. All my uncles and aunties and cousins and yeah.
Going back to your coaching, where's Abedom?
So Abedom's still in Leicester.
He's a very fast park runner.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we'll get him very fast again at some point. He watched the race. He watched the big half in London was on telly, wasn't it? And he watched that, and there was a lad on there. I can't remember his name now, but he's from Birmingham, and we went to a race last year where Abedom. He's from Abedom's home country, so they were speaking the same language. So he pretty much spent the day with him. Then we watched the big half on telly, and he saw this lad.
On the telly?
On telly, running with Kenenisa Bekele. So,
wow, what an experience.
He said, I've been so silly, I've got to get back running, that could be me. So hopefully he'll be back, because he's been kind of...
Because he's in Leicester.
He's in Leicester, yeah, and he's still at college.
For those that don't know, Abedom came from Eritrea, and he was a refugee, and he came and stayed in Northampton, and Peter and your family, you took him under your wing. And when he found that parkrun was his escape as well, didn't he? And it helped him mentally. Was he about 15 minutes he was getting to?
He did 15:38.
And he was like how old? 17 or something back then?
He was 17 at the time, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's 19 now, so it's cool. Time flies, doesn't it?
We need to get him back.
He kind of still does. He's still fit, because we went to a park run. We went to Harborough the other day, and he hasn't been doing any training. I said, "How much training do you do?" Nothing. What? For how long? He hasn't. Last time he went for a run was like 3 months ago.
But is he still naturally?
He ran 17:40, and he hadn't run for 3 months.
Oh, makes you sick. That makes you sick. Are you happy to talk about your mental health story? Or?
Yeah.
So do you want to just give people just an overall...
Sure, where do you start? So
did it start at school? Did it...
I think it started really when I was very young, yeah, because obviously I've got ADHD, and it was undiagnosed until I was 28. Not being diagnosed, that caused me some problems. I think ADHD is one of those problems that people don't realise is a problem sometimes, because you just think it's a lively kid.
Well, for a while they were saying it wasn't a problem.
A lot of people still kind of say, oh, it's just a naughty kid, or it's just a,
Yeah.
But you can imagine somebody who, probably for a lot of other kids as well, somebody who was generally misbehaving would be told a lot, get told off a lot. And so I kind of, how it's affected me now is that I feel like I've done something wrong a lot of the time when I maybe haven't. So that obviously has an impact on your self-confidence. And
you felt you was misunderstood.
I still feel I am now.
Still feel
like that now, yeah. Yeah. I often things happen, and I end up speaking out of turn or being impulsive, and and I think that the problem is now that I kind of second guess myself a lot. I know what I actually understand it a bit more now, and I know that I'm doing it, but that doesn't stop it. So
do you have the support network?
Yeah, and it's nice to have people that do, at least, even if people don't understand, it's nice when people make the effort to understand. I didn't realise, because I wasn't diagnosed with anything, I didn't realise there was anything going on, until I was diagnosed. But looking back in hindsight, you can see that I was kind of a bit all over the place and not able to focus on school, and I left school without finishing my studies. And
did you run when you was at school?
I did. I was quite a good runner when I was at school. I ran some decent times, and I used to train quite hard, so that was kind of, I guess that was something that kept me out of trouble as well, so
when you left
that was why I wasn't diagnosed, because perhaps that focus that I had was keeping me on the straight and narrow. Yeah, but it's like once I get to 17, I stopped running.
Alcohol?
Yeah, well, a bit of everything really, a bit of everything that you want to do at that age, and whereas most people go through a phase and it passes, it didn't really pass for me.
And you stopped running during that period?
I stopped running during that period, yeah. And I think my coach recognised that I wasn't doing my, because it was at the school for boys, you see. So he recognised that I wasn't doing my studies. He was told by the teachers that I wasn't doing my schoolwork and said that, look, you need to concentrate on your schoolwork and come back to running when you've done it. But it didn't have the desired effect because I just didn't do either.
Oh, right, okay. So basically, if you don't have running, you've got no focus.
Yeah, I think in hindsight that probably wasn't the best. Obviously the intention was that I would concentrate on my schoolwork, but in hindsight that wasn't the best thing to do. I probably should have at least carried on running. If I'd have failed my studies and still been running, then perhaps I would have had a focus and been able to turn things around in other things. I guess it didn't actually start immediately, but I did. I got mixed up with drugs and eventually went to prison. I went so it was ABH. So yeah, it was a brawl in town, which is quite commonplace, but it obviously not acceptable. And I guess it kind of culminated to that stage. So it was kind of a process to get to that stage. Yeah, I guess you kind of felt like that was my identity. That was where I was. I'd always been bad, and perhaps that was it for me, and that was how I felt. I didn't think I was going to be much better than I was then. So I didn't work for quite a while after prison. That was when, like I say, I guess I didn't really realise what was going on in terms of my mental health, but the drinking and the drugs and that kind of stuff, and that was my kind of, that's how I was coping with the way I felt about myself. I didn't feel good about myself, and the way to feel good about myself was to be drunk I've been quite surprised recently that can creep back in. So it's kind of, I've got to keep on top of the running, and kind of learning as well that you don't always have to have that buzz to be yourself. You don't have to chase and I think that's an ADHD thing as well, because there's a lack of dopamine in the brain. So you are likely to, a lot of addicts are ADHD. I'm listening to a book at the moment. So you're likely to chase a buzz because you're depleted of that kind of reward. That reward system isn't giving you the right signals.
And then, so how old was you when you took running back up again then? And what made you took running back up?
So I was 28. Yeah, I think I recognised that once you kind of... So I'd obviously been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and it was kind of one of those things that I wanted to stop. It was kind of, at that time, it was just a like-for-like replacement, I think. It was, a very positive thing, obviously. It's, if you're going to have an addiction, it's good to have a healthy one rather than an unhealthy one. And obviously, like I say, there's a process going on since that to realise that, it doesn't have to be everything. You don't have to put all your eggs in one basket, but it's definitely still a positive part of my life, and not just with, not just in my own running, but, I found that I can help others, I can be part of a group. You can be, the thing I found about runners especially, I think, is that everybody's so accepting. People tend to be really understanding, and tell someone about my past and nobody really judges. It's so it's given me a different life, I guess. And I think this is the common thing with people with anxiety and depression, is that you think, no, it's not real, and you keep trying to think, no, it's not real, it's just me. I need to stop doing this, and I need to get myself out of it. So there's a few times where I was given medication, and I'm not taking them because these are what are making me depressed. These are coincided with you being depressed. I guess it got to a point where I recognised that I wasn't getting any better.
So did someone recommend getting back into sport, or was it you?
Yeah, so there's someone I know, because my mum and dad have always gone to Broadmead Baptist Church. I wouldn't talk to any professionals. I don't know why. People used to say go and see a professional, but I wouldn't talk to them because I thought they were, I don't know, I had this idea of what...
Stranger.
What they were, not stranger. No, I had this, I don't know what it was. I think it was a kind of taboo thing. I can't speak to someone because then I I can't speak to someone
It makes
about
it
my mental
official
health
to you.
because then
Yeah.
I have got mental health, you know.
Yeah.
But my mum, and there's someone I knew at the church who had worked in mental health. He wasn't working in mental health. He's actually the pastor there now. But he, you know, I knew him and I trusted him, and just, do you want to have a chat? So I used to go around and see him every week and have a chat, and obviously he knew the right things to say, and he said perhaps running would help.
So if anyone out there that is feeling like how you said you were, would you recommend go and see a local pastor or go and get help, medical, or ring?
I'd definitely say that nowadays...
What would you advise? Because
I would say that the idea that mental health professionals, you shouldn't see a mental health professional is something that's going to hold you back. It's really good, yeah. It's kind of awareness is even since, you know, I guess I was probably diagnosed 10 years ago. Even since then, the awareness of everything has improved dramatically. But with that comes like a kind of, you've got to, what am I trying to say? So if you increase awareness, you then need to kind of put the infrastructure in place.
And you don't think it's...
I think it's better, but I think as the awareness, because the awareness is going up massively, stigma is going down.
Yeah.
So people are going to get the help that they need, and I think that they're stretched.
As knowing that, what would you, I know, you know, only from your experience, would you, and especially at the moment with the virus going around, it's, you know...
I'd still recommend to go and speak to someone, yeah, definitely. And it is easier to access. You know, there may still be waits and you know, but even if you're waiting, if you get the ball rolling, then you're going to be seen. So there's the was it IAPT, improving access to psychological therapy. So you can go online yourself, fill in a form, don't have to speak to anybody, send it off, and you've referred yourself to a mental health service. So it's not kind of, you don't have to go and speak to the doctor, and you know, you still can. The doctor can do the same. The doctor can refer you, but if you don't want to speak to the doctor, you can do it yourself. It's easy.
So just on that though, with, like I said, at the moment with the virus and everything, and with runners at the moment that are like, we cannot be social, well, it's social distancing. What effect do you think that's going to have mentally on society?
I think it will have an effect. Obviously it'll have an effect because it's a drastic thing. It's going to have an effect on the economy in the future. It's going to have an effect on... People are going to be feeling kind of uncertain, which causes anxiety, which causes stress levels to go up. But I think, you know, because obviously I've given it a bit of thought, because anxiety is something that I suffer with, and I found myself sort of flicking through, checking what's going on, and you know, and you think about it, and you think, well, you can only do what you can, you know, you can only control
what you can.
Things that are in your control, you know. That would be my advice, to just do the best you can. You can still exercise on your own. You could go on a FaceTime run, couldn't you?
A FaceTime all sweating inside your house. You never know. That's what people could be doing now. Skyping. Yes, I'm running on the treadmill or on the spot.
Just if we do this FaceTime run and I put it on a selfie stick, I'd like to put the selfie stick behind me.
So you've got to behind you.
I'd like to be talking to Chris Lamb so that I can... Wherever we go, he'd always be behind me.